Thank you for your cooperation and understanding. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to one and all present here. It is with immense pleasure and pride that we welcome all the guests and the distinguished invitees to the inaugural lecture of the G.S. Mandal's Golden Jubilee Lecture Series, a celebration of 50 glorious years of excellence and enlightenment. This evening we gather in this hall, named Anand Hall of MIT, to embark on journey through the illustrious life and legacy of one of the most revered political leaders, the father of nation, Mahatma Gandhi. Our distinguished guest for today, the speaker, Dr. N.G. Rajurkar, will shed light on Gandhiji's unique approach to leadership, his unwavering commitment to non-violence, and his indomitable spirit of truth and justice. Let's extend a warm and hearty welcome with a big round of applause to our distinguished speaker, Dr. N.G. Rajurkar, who has graciously accepted our invitation to inaugurate this lecture series. Sir, you are requested to be seated and grace the dais. In the auspicious presence of the brightly lit traditional lamp, which symbolizes the dispelling of darkness and the ushering in of wisdom and knowledge, now it's time to honor our guest with a token of appreciation. The felicitation ceremony is a gesture of our gratitude for the wisdom and insights that will be shared with us. I now humbly invite the President, G.S. Mandal, Dr. Y. Kaude sir, and the Governing Body Chairman, Dr. V.M. Pandey sir, to felicitate our esteemed speaker, Dr. N.G. Rajurkar, in a traditional manner with a shawl, shrifal, and the memento. Dear all, I take pride to announce that this memento is printed in the 3D printing lab of MIT by Professor Suhas Sate and his student team. They have taken a lot of efforts to bring the idea into reality. It is indeed a proud moment for all of us. It is indeed a proud moment for all MITians to appreciate our students who have taken efforts to print this memento in our lab itself. Now I request Professor Munish Sharma sir to felicitate Mrs. Rajurkar, the better half of our esteemed speaker, Mr. N.G. Rajurkar. Mrs. Rajurkar has been a great support in his life's journey throughout. I also request Professor Munish Sharma, Director General MIT, to felicitate Mr. Vikas Rajurkar. Thank you very much, sir. We shall now proceed with the introduction of our distinguished speaker. I take the privilege to invite Dr. N.G. Patil, Director, Maharashtra Institute of Technology, to present a luminary whose life and work resonate deeply with the values of Mahatma Gandhi. Please, sir.
Thank you, madam. His distinguished speaker, Professor Dr. N.G. Rajurkar, sir, all invited guests, Professor Kaude, sir, President of GS Mandal, Professor Manish Sharma, sir. Good evening. We have gathered here to launch our Golden Jubilee Lecture Series. Celebration of Golden Jubilee year of GSM's MIT group of institution, which was established in the year 1975, and we will be entering into the Golden Jubilee. We will be completing 50 years soon. Honor not only 50 years of academic excellence, but we also celebrate the academic excellence and enduring spirit of resilience and determination that defined our humble beginnings. Our founders, especially Professor Y. A. Kaude, along with his father, late Sri Anandraoji Deshmukh, who was a freedom fighter, they have worked very hard, untiredly, and often sacrificing their personal comforts. The journey was driven by the vision of creating an institution in the region of Marathwada that would redefine educational standards and empower generations to come. Today, as we launch this series of lectures, we draw inspirations from their journey. The launch of this series is a symbol of our commitment to intellectual curiosity, academic rigor, and pursuit of knowledge. Over the coming months, we will have the privilege of learning from distinguished speakers who will share their insights, expertise, and experiences across various fields, which includes social sciences, history, economics, science and technology, and many more. Today we are honored and privileged to have Professor Dr. N.G. Rajurkar for the launching ceremony first lecture. We deeply express our sense of gratitude towards Professor N.G. Rajurkar, Mrs. Rajurkar, and their son, Mr. Vikas Rajurkar, for accepting our invitation to deliver his session today and tomorrow as well. Professor Rajurkar did his master's, LLB, and PhD from Osmania University. And he has also been conferred with D.Litt from Punjab University, Patiala. Currently, he is working as Professor Emeritus at Osmania University. His specializations are political, social, and economic ideas of Mahatma Gandhi and his role in India's movement for freedom. In addition to that, his specialization areas also include political, social, and economic ideas of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, his role in India's movement for freedom, and his contributions to the cause of building a secular, democratic, scientifically and technologically advanced India in post-independence period. During his doctoral research, Professor Rajurkar conducted lengthy interviews with Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru as a part of his research work. Professor Rajurkar is also author of several research papers. He has authored 15 books in English and Marathi. The recent one is Nehru, Utopian or a Statesman, which is available on Amazon. He has supervised number of research work under his guidance. He has also taught several undergraduate and postgraduate courses in political science. He has been regularly invited as a speaker in public functions seminars, symposia in India and abroad. To name a few, California State University, Northridge, University of California, LA, UCLA, Parliament of India Annex, in the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Lecture Series, where the Speaker of Parliament was presiding the lecture series. Professor Rajurkar has also served on various committees of Government of India. He is also proficient in multiple languages, and Urdu is also his language of his interest, especially Urdu ghazal and poetry in Urdu. He has an expertise in that. So today's first lecture series is Mahatma Gandhi. The title is Mahatma Gandhi, a political leader with difference. So in closing, I invite each and every one of you to join us on this exciting journey of exploration and discovery. So we have honor to have Professor Rajurkar here. I request sir to take the charge. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Indeed, we are privileged to have such an esteemed speaker for the beginning of our lecture series. Ladies and gentlemen, we now reach the moment of great pride as we unveil the GS Mandal's Golden Jubilee Series logo. This emblem stands as a testament to our 50-year, starting on 15th October 2024, journey of commitment to academic and cultural excellence. The Golden Jubilee celebrations are going to be spread over a long duration with several exciting events to come up. I request our esteemed speaker, Dr. N.G. Rajurkar, the President, GS Mandal, Dr. Y. Kavde sir, the Governing Body Chairman, Dr. V.M. Pandre Pandey sir, the Director General, MIT, Professor Munish Sharma sir, and the Director, MIT Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar, Dr. Nilesh Patil sir, to come ahead to unveil the logo of the GS Mandal's Golden Jubilee Lecture Series. Here we unveil Thank you so much, sir. Herewith, we will commence the lecture titled Mahatma Gandhi, a political leader with a difference. We invite our guest speaker to take the stage and enlighten us with his profound knowledge and insights. Over to you, sir.
Distinguished members associated with the MIT, distinguished invitees, students of MIT, teachers of MIT, and other invitees to this function. I deem it a great privilege to speak here today. A matter of great privilege for me. Insofar as the introduction was concerned, I thank Mr. Patil for his very generous comments. I only hope that I will come up to the expectations that his introduction may have roused in the minds of the listeners. Ladies and gentlemen, before I talk about Mahatma Gandhi, and his contribution to India's freedom movement. Before I talk about Gandhiji as a person who was different from other political leaders that history knows of, I would like to go on record that I am very happy to be here. I had been here when my esteemed friend Professor Pandhari Pandey was the Vice Chancellor of the university, Baba Saheb Ambedkar University, and on one or two other occasions. There is a great deal of affinity for me insofar as this city is concerned, not only because of its history, not only because of the monuments that you have here, but for an additional reason, and that is my great affinity to a very great son of India, Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar. Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar spent a few years in this town, and his name is associated with the university here. Right from my earlier days, I was a great admirer of this great man, and I thought that this would be an opportune moment to say a few words about this great son of India before I start talking about Mahatma Gandhi and his contribution to world peace and other matters. As whenever any function takes place in Hyderabad on the 14th of April, Dr. Ambedkar's birthday, I make it a point to go and speak on that occasion. I had been to London a few years back, and the first thing that I did was I went to the British Museum Library. Library is a part of British Museum where Dr. Ambedkar used to sit right from the morning, right from the time when the library opened to the time when the library ended, day after day, week after week, month after month, going through books, taking down notes, and in different ways trying to understand a large number of things. His personal library had thousands of books. On one occasion, a communist leader tried to add to the information of Dr. Ambedkar in regard to communism, and Dr. Ambedkar's reply was, I know more about communism than all the communist leaders in India put together. And that was not an empty boast. He was such a great scholar who knew so much about different subjects. And Dr. Ambedkar, when he went to the library, around 10 o'clock in the morning, used to go home around 6 o'clock when the library ended its work, without a tea interval, without a lunch interval, because he couldn't afford these things. So it's a source of great inspiration. I know, of course, that he is very rightly called the architect of the Indian Constitution, and there are so many other accomplishments to his credit. But for persons like me, or Professor Pandhari Pandey and others associated with the academic field, he is a source of great inspiration. His scholarship. On a certain occasion he said, and please remember, he started his career as a teacher, and it makes me happy to tell you that my father was a student of Dr. Ambedkar way back in 1918 or so. And my father used to tell me about Dr. Ambedkar's scholarship, his competence to teach extremely well, his gentle approach to his students, whenever a student wanted to answer a question put by Dr. Ambedkar, he used to say, "You can sit down and answer, please don't stand up." And my father used to tell a lot about his scholarship and his gentle manners. Here I may say one thing which I suppose is very relevant to the teachers here and to the teachers in other colleges of this city. Dr. Ambedkar once said, "In order to take one period, I used to study for 5 hours." Now it is for us to ask ourselves how much we study in order to take a period. We want shortcuts to everything, and nobody becomes great through shortcuts. I hope that those who are present here would accept Dr. Ambedkar as a role model, even from the point of view of teaching the students and getting inspiration from him. Ladies and gentlemen, I am speaking today about Mahatma Gandhi. I belong to a period when India was struggling for freedom. I did not witness all the freedom movement, but I witnessed a part of it, the faggot part of India's struggle for freedom. And sometimes I feel that I should get back to that period, at least for a day, and be a part of that atmosphere when men and women and even little children came out of their shells and become India's soldiers of freedom. Ordinarily, people are normally, they think of their bread and butter, their household worries, but a time comes in the history of a nation when history becomes epoch-making, and then out of ordinary people, heroes are born. And that was the period to which, in a way, I was associated, not as a participant. Maybe I may have taken a very minor role in those days, but the time was a glorious time. It was William Wordsworth, the great English poet, once wrote, he was belonging to the period when the French Revolution took place of 1789. And William Wordsworth, in one of his poems, says, "Bliss it was to be alive in that dawn, and to be young was very heaven." And I think the same thing could be said without exaggeration about that period when the best in every Indian came to the surface. I'm not sure as to what things are like. You are the best judge of how things are. But sometimes I do feel that I myself sometimes say that I belong to a period of hero worshippers. And for the simple reason that heroes existed. When heroes don't exist, there is no question of worshipping a hero. And I'm going to talk today about Mahatma Gandhi, who was not only known in India, but all over the world. When I was a schoolboy, I had great regard for Mahatma Gandhi, but at that time I thought about him as a great leader of India's movement for freedom. I realized what he meant to the entire world on the day on which he was assassinated. I still have a very vivid memory of the day. I was in the 9th or the 10th class. It was around 5:30 in the evening, and I was reading an essay by A.G. Gardiner. Normally, students of English literature know that A.G. Gardiner's essays are delightful to read, but this essay was an emotionally charged essay. The title of the essay was The Unknown Warrior. After the First World War, the body of a dead soldier, British soldier, was picked up and it was buried in the Westminster Abbey, where only illustrious few are buried. A.G. Gardiner was a witness to that scene, and his essay is full of poignance. He says at the fag end of his essay, "We do not know who this young man was. We do not know from which part of the country he came. All that we know is when the British wanted him to go to war, he left his children, his wife, his father, his mother, and without looking back at them, he went to the battlefield and he died there." And he imagines that the unknown warrior is asking the people of Britain, "We died for no mean cause. We died so that you may live. We died so that England may be happier and better place for those who live and those who come after." And finally, A.J. Gardiner says, and he asks us in silent words, "Are you worthy of our sacrifice?" And A.J. Gardiner ends with the essay by saying, "If we are honest, we shall not find the answer easy." So sometimes I ask myself whether we are worthy of the sacrifices made by these people, men, women, little children. Some revolutionaries went to the gallows. A large number of them spent years and years together in the prison so that we may be happy. They had nothing, there was no self-interest involved in that. So today I am talking about one such person, probably the most outstanding, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Now when I talk about Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi or about Jawaharlal Nehru, it does not mean that I am not conscious of the greatness of other leaders. I belong to a generation which respects all these great people, regardless of the strategies that they adopted in order to make India free, going to the gallows, suffering imprisonment, all that for the end being the freedom of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, when I talk about Mahatma Gandhi and his contribution, a large number of ideas come to my mind. To begin with, I shall talk about the fact that Gandhiji, and not many people are aware of that, was a very well-read person. Somehow people get the idea that Gandhi was confined to a few books only. I do not know why that feeling has spread all over the world that Gandhi was a man who had read only a handful of books, which is not true at all. And when I try to speculate as to why this feeling has spread all over India, one possible guess comes to my mind. When Gandhiji came to India in 1915, in the month of January, the first thing that he did was he went to Pune in order to meet his political mentor, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. And he visited the Servants of India Society founded by Gokhale. And there he went to the library and he made a certain comment. He said, "Why should we have so many books? Let us have a limited few And probably that has given rise to the fact that Gandhi's reading was not very comprehensive, but in fact it was very comprehensive and very wide. Gandhiji had read the Bhagavad Gita, of course, the Holy Bible, the Quran, the Upanishads, a book on 6 systems of Indian philosophy, books of the Gujarati jeweler poet Rajachandra, books of Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Aurobindo, books by Leo Tolstoy, almost all of them, books written by John Ruskin. It had a great impact on Gandhiji's thinking. Books by Edward Carpenter, books by Bentham, John Stuart Mill, H.G. Wells, books on Zoroastrianism, books on Jainism, books on Buddhism, and on a number of other. But what is important in Gandhiji's case, and that is something which I would like to say right now, the British political thinker of 17th century, Thomas Hobbes, and students of political science are acquainted with that name. He once made a very enigmatic statement, enigmatic in the sense not easily understandable. He said, if I had read as much as others have done, I would have remained as ignorant as others are. Now, it's a very funny statement. If books don't add to your knowledge, what is the point in reading? All the libraries of the world should be closed down. And Hobbes was trying to say that I would have remained very ignorant by reading books. I suppose what Thomas Hobbes had in his mind was, if you go on reading books, a number of them, quote from this book or that book, at best you are a parrot. You are merely quoting others. But what is required is to digest what is given in different books, assimilate those thoughts, and come out with original, different ideas. And that was Gandhi. Gandhi's books are not many. The most important book is Hind Swaraj, and his editorials in the various periodicals that he edited. But when you read that, you feel that this man had something different to say, that he had the originality to digest facts and come out with very original thoughts. And that was the reason as to why he was considered a great person. I was talking to you about the day on which Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated. I was reading that essay, tears were rolling out of my eyes, and I used to read that essay again and again. And through the window, I saw great commotion in the ground near our house. People were awestruck, as if a thunder had fallen on them. They were talking in silent words about something very tragic had happened. I went out. I asked the people as to what the matter was, and they said, Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated. And then around 8 o'clock in the evening, Jawaharlal Nehru and Vallabhbhai Patel addressed the people of India on the radio. TVs were not there. Nehru was extremely emotional. He started his speech with, the light has gone out of our lives and there is darkness everywhere. Then he corrected himself and said, perhaps I am wrong. The light that shone all these days was not an ordinary light. Generations of people all over the world will see it and will get inspiration from it. Vallabhbhai Patel, equally shocked, because he was the Home Minister and a great associate of Mahatma Gandhi, but he spoke in a very controlled manner. And then something happened which really surprised me. Flags flew all over the world, barring Soviet Russia. They had some different ideas about Gandhiji and his role. Believe that in every capital of the world, barring Soviet Russia, flags flew half-mast, even on the United Nations buildings. And who was Gandhi? An ordinary person, technically, an ordinary person. He was not the Prime Minister of the country. He was not the head of the state, but just an ordinary citizen like you and I. And the world paid a great respect to him, and flags flew everywhere else, and people were in the mourning. Now that is not something that happens every day. And then there were tributes. George Bernard Shaw said, it only shows how dangerous it is to be too good. And Einstein said, future generations, the great Einstein, future generations would scarcely believe that a person like this, in flesh and blood, ever tread on this earth. Now these were the tributes from people all over the world. So Gandhi's reputation was not confined to India only. And thereafter, we have study centers all over the world, statues of Gandhiji all over the world. Whenever I went to the United States, I was asked to speak on Gandhiji. A picture on Gandhiji drew the attention of people all over the world. So we are so eager to condemn this man and find fault with him, when the entire world acknowledges his greatness. There was Martin Luther King and other leaders of world repute. They admired Gandhi, they tried to follow Gandhi, and we pay a lip service to that man on the 2nd of October and the 30th of January. And there the matter ends. There is no co-relationship between ourselves, Indians, and Mahatma Gandhi. When I went to one of the universities in Providence, Massachusetts, Johnson and Wales University, a large number of black professors attended that lecture. And when I was talking about Gandhiji, I could make out from their facial expressions that as if they were listening to a sermon on the mount or something about Christ. That admiration for a man, frail man from India. And when my lecture was over, this is not something which I should have said normally, but this is meant to emphasize the importance of Gandhiji. They all stood in a line and waited till I went there just in order to shake hands with me, not because they thought that I was a big man, but I had come from Gandhi's land. That was Gandhi for the entire world. More books have been written on Gandhiji than perhaps on any other subject. I'm subject to correction, but I read somewhere that more books have been written on Gandhiji, with the exception of the Holy Bible. Indian writers have written about him. D.G. Tendulkar's book in 8 volumes, Pyarilal's book, Private Secretary to Mahatma Gandhi, in 2 big volumes. Then there are several other Indians who have written about Gandhiji, and a bigger number still of those who belong to France, belong to England, and belong to other countries. Louis Fisher, Vincent Sheen, Roma Rolla, and others. So how is it that this frail little man who just put on a loincloth across his body attracted the attention of the people? And why is it that we ignore him? I don't have any answer to that. We have to seek an answer to that question. So that is insofar as the books on Gandhiji are concerned. The number is too big for me to enumerate the names. And then, surprisingly, and this may come as a surprise to some of you, that Gandhiji's writings, Gandhiji's speeches, Gandhiji's books, Gandhiji's press conferences, Gandhiji's letters to reputed people all over the world cover 100 volumes. 100 volumes of Gandhiji's writings and other things. They have been collected together, and that gives you an idea of the thought that Gandhi gave to different matters. And the thirdly, this is firstly the books on Gandhiji, the writings of Gandhiji, and the other matter to which I would like to draw your attention is Gandhiji's unique personality. I will not talk about what Gandhi did in South Africa. That will make the lecture far too long. He came to India in 1915, and as I told you a little earlier, the first thing that he did was he went to Pune. The month was February, met Gopal Krishna Gokhale, his political mentor, and as ill luck would have it, Gopal Krishna Gokhale died a week later. When Gandhiji went to Pune, he sought advice from Gokhale, and Gokhale gave a very timely advice to him. He said, Mr. Gandhi, don't be in a hurry. Don't try to enter politics. Just take a tour of India, find out what India is like, and then you can decide as to what you should do and how you should do it. But I will talk about these things a little later. The first thing that strikes me as very important about Gandhiji is that he was essentially a man of religion in the best sense of the word. Gandhiji himself once said to his lifelong associate in South Africa, one Mr. Pollock, he said, look here Pollock, I know a large number of people in the domain of religion who are politicians at heart. But I am basically a man of religion, and yet I am in politics because my religious duty prompts me to participate in politics. Whether there is any correlation today between religious duty and political activity, I do not know. Anyway, you know the answer. So the point that I am trying to tell you is, here was a man, basically a man of religion, who got into politics. And what was his philosophy? His philosophy was basically a metaphysical one. Gandhiji used to say that the entire universe is not merely a collection of atoms and neutrons, but there is a spiritual part to this universe, and we are a part of that spirituality. And the divine force that rules over the universe is related to the divinity in every one of us, and that could be brought to the surface. And Gandhiji thought that the best in every individual could be brought out. And men are not that bad as we imagine to be. When I say men, I mean human beings. I may just give an example. a notorious criminal in America who had committed every possible type of crime was badly wanted to the police by the police, and finally he was caught when he was trying to escape by jumping from the fourth story. Brought to the police station. A psychologist met him, and however criminal a person is, they are honest in their replies. The psychologist asked him, what was the first thought that crossed your mind when the police grabbed you? Our 100 guesses may go wrong. Do you know what he said? He said, while I was committing crime after crime, indulging in very bad things, there was one thought in my mind all the time, that I should serve my aged mother. And when the police caught me, the thought that came to my mind was, now the last chance is gone. I can no longer serve my mother. Now can you imagine a criminal of the worst type entertaining such noble thoughts? And that was what Gandhi was trying to emphasize, that the best in every individual could be brought to the surface, and that did happen during India's freedom struggle. People were crushed under horses' feet during the salt satyagraha period. People were subject to torture, and Gandhi's suggestion to all of them was, don't react, don't abuse them, and have good thoughts about it, which is, I know it's not easy, but I can tell you from my own experience during that period that we disliked the British, we wanted them to go, but there was no ill will against the Britishers. And that was Gandhiji's teaching, don't have ill will against the other person. I may give you an example. The example of General Smuts, the Governor General of South Africa, when Gandhiji was carrying on satyagraha on the question of racial segregation in South Africa. In spite of all that Smuts did to crush Gandhi, Gandhi had the greatness of preparing sandals, which when he was in prison, and presenting them to General Smuts. And later on, General Smuts, on the 70th birthday of General Smuts' birthday, he sent back the sandals to Mahatma Gandhi, and he wrote a letter in which he said that I put on the sandals for years together, but my feet are not big enough to put the shoes in my feet. You are a great man, and I thank you. Now, General Smuts was an avowed enemy of Mahatma Gandhi, but he could carry on, he could have best possible relations with those who were torturing him, who were his enemies. Now, coming back to a few other things, when Gandhiji came to India, impressed by him. Not many people knew him. The elite class knew him because of what he had done in South Africa, but others did not know much about him. The masses, of course, knew very little about him, that some Gandhi is struggling in South Africa, nothing beyond that. And here were people who were skeptic about Gandhi. Jawaharlal Nehru writes in his autobiography that I met Gandhi for the first time in December 1916, a little before the Lucknow Congress. Now it's possible that I may go on referring to the Congress party, but please remember that Congress at that time was something different. It was another name of India's movement for freedom, and all great people were in the Congress: Tilak, Gokhale, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bipin Chandra Pal, C. Rajagopalachari, and many, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Maulana Azad, and many, many others. So it was another name of India's national movement. So granting that you feel that I am advocating the cause of the Congress of today, I have nothing against the Congress of today, but all that I am saying is that the Congress at that time was a broader organization. It represented the spirit of the entire nation. So Jawaharlal Nehru says, I met Gandhi for the first time around the Lucknow Congress of 1916. And he makes an observation which I would like you to remember. He said, for us young people, we of course admired what Gandhi had done in South Africa, but for us young men, Gandhi was different, distant, and unpolitical. These are the three words that he uses: different, distant, and unpolitical. And we, the young people, thought that this man will not succeed in India. He talks too much about spirituality and other things. How could a person in politics have any relationship with the ideas of ethics? And then things happen, and they may surprise you. India was dominated by tall leaders, great orators, charismatic people with a great hold on the masses. Bal Gangadhar Tilak was alive. Gokhale, of course, passed away little after Gandhi came to India. There was Lala Lajpat Rai, Bipin Chandra Pal, Aurobindo, C. Rajagopalachari, Vallabhbhai Patel. All these stalwarts were there, and here was a person, frail, did not know much about oratory. He used to talk with a lisp, and he was far from an orator. And personality-wise, there was nothing very impressive about him. Jawaharlal Nehru was incredibly handsome. He used to have a hypnotic effect on the masses the moment he went there, granting that Nehru comes here at this moment. Without knowing who he is, people would stand up and say, Jawaharlal Nehru ki jai. That was the type of personality he had. Gandhi did not have any of these assets. He talked in a low voice, personally not attractive at all. But this man won over the topmost leaders of India, brilliant people, great lawyers. I will give you only two. You see, I will give some anecdotes because I can't cover everything in a speech lasting for an hour or so. So anecdotes perhaps would tell the story in a better way and would add to the interest of the listeners. The first anecdote that I would like to mention is that about C.R. Das, two of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, a brilliant lawyer with a razor-sharp intellect. He was in Bengal, was Motilal Nehru was in UP. The session was to take place, Congress session at Nagpur, and Gandhiji was to move the resolution about non-cooperation. C.R. Das, with a legalistic bent of mind, did not like Satyagraha and all that. And he had decided to oppose Gandhiji. C.R. Das came with young Bengali delegates to Nagpur, and he told those delegates, tomorrow I am going to oppose Gandhi and you should all support me. Those young revolutionary, hot-blooded young men said, sir, where is the question of supporting Gandhi? We are all with you and we shall oppose Gandhi's resolution on non-cooperation. Around 10 o'clock in the night, one day before, Gandhiji sent a small note to C.R. Das. In that note, Gandhiji said, C.R. Das ji, you can oppose me tomorrow, but would you please make it convenient for you to see me for about 10 minutes? C.R. Das, with a razor sharp mind, a lawyer, brilliant lawyer, always thought that I will crush Gandhi. He went into Gandhi's tent, roaring like a lion, so sure about his brilliance. They had a quiet talk for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then this legal luminary thumped the table in front of him and said, "Damn it, Gandhi, you are always right, you are always wrong." He went out of the tent like a lamb, no longer a lion. He went to the delegates' camp, delegates from Bengal. He said, "I am not going to oppose Gandhi tomorrow, let us support Gandhi." Now this doesn't come easily. That is the tremendous power of judgment that Gandhi had, though no personal magnetism. Another such example. Some of you, I'm not very sure, may have heard about Josh Maliabadi. Mrs. Pandari Pandey, I'm sure, knows about her. She has written a good deal about Urdu poets. A great poet who is considered perhaps the greatest insofar as Urdu poetry is concerned. A handsome man belonging to a zamindar family, a close friend of Jawaharlal Nehru. He says that I saw Gandhi for the first time in 1918 when the Congress session took place at Ahmedabad. And when I saw him, he says, I was terribly disappointed. I said, ऐसा आदमी और वो हिंदुस्तान की क़ियादत करे, क्या खूबी है इस आदमी में? And he thought that people are making a mistake following this man. And then Josh Maliabadi says, after about a half hour, I went into Gandhi's tent along with Maulana Abul Kalam Azad and came out after a half hour with a feeling that India just cannot have a better leader. Now this is not something that is easy. Gandhi, please remember, won over the leaders before he won over the masses. Masses came later. But all big people became followers of Gandhiji. And you will be surprised to know, I think Justice Chapagaonkar, I don't think he is here today, he has written in his book on Jawaharlal Nehru that Bal Gangadhar Tilak said that I am growing in years and I wouldn't mind serving as Gandhi's lieutenant. Tilak saying that, a giant of a man, that I will follow him, he is the leader of tomorrow. So Gandhi's judgment was an outstanding feature of his personality. When he joined the Congress, and he had out of the ordinary ideas about different things. When he attended the Lucknow session, the first thing that he did was he took a broom in his hand and he wanted to clean all the latrines. People went surprised. This man talking about cleaning, but for Gandhi, cleaning the latrines was a priority. Now that was the type of mind that he had, different from the mind of most of the people. And he became the focal of activity because, as Nehru says in his autobiography, Gandhi was a man of action. Nehru says that the Congress used to meet every year in the month of December, pass empty resolutions which nobody took very seriously, and then meet again after 1 year. But there was no action on the part of the Congress party, barring of course when the partition of Bengal took place. And the condition was that people were tremendously afraid of the British at that time. And Gandhi said, his slogan was, or his important sentence was, don't be afraid. There is nothing to fear except fear itself. And once he made something worth remembering, he said, the evils in the world are not due to bad people. They are due to the timidity of good people. All of us who call ourselves good people are basically timid people. We don't accept the challenge thrown by the evil persons, with the result that evil dominates the world and we retreat. Here was one person who said, why should we be afraid of anything? There is nothing so bad as fear, and he made the people brave, with the result men and women and even little children got into the freedom movement, suffered, but did not do something to allow the British to continue their atrocities. So Gandhi made the country fearless, and then he made the people conscious of the villages. For us, India meant Bombay, India meant Calcutta, India meant Nagpur. But Gandhi made them aware of the people living in the villages, and he used to say, salvation of India lies in villages. So here was a man who became an acknowledged leader of the people from 1920 onwards. I am not going to give the details, but I will narrate one or two anecdotes. I hope you will find them interesting, and that may perhaps give you an idea about what Gandhiji leadership meant. In 1930, Gandhiji started the Salt Satyagraha movement. At that time, the ambassador of Afghanistan, ambassador of Turkey in Afghanistan, Hikmat Bayur, visited India. He was invited to a tea party by the jail superintendent of a certain jail, and the tea party took place outside the jail premises. It was evening time of sunset, and the Satyagrahis in that prison were raising slogans like Mahatma Gandhi ki jai, Inqilab Zindabad, Bharat Mata ki jai. The Turkish ambassador listened to that, and that was the period when Gandhi dominated the political scene. He said, asked the jail superintendent, Mr. Jail Superintendent, how many people were in jails in 1920 when Mr. Gandhi started the first political movement on the question of Khilafat? The jail superintendent gave a certain number, so many people. Then the second question of the Turkish ambassador was, Mr. Jail Superintendent, how many people are in jails now, 10 years later? The jail superintendent said, about 10 times more, because the movement was growing. The third question of the Turkish ambassador was, Mr. Jail Superintendent, how many people would be in jails 10 years later in 1940? Before the jail superintendent could answer that question, one of the invitees to the tea party said, Mr. Ambassador, sir, in 1940, even the jail superintendent would be in the jail. That was how the movement was spreading not only to the cities, but to the villages and to the hamlets. Now, sometimes people talk about the other aspects. For instance, somebody, I would like to name that person, somebody belonging to England. He said, no, we were not afraid of Gandhi or the Satyagraha movement. We were frightened by the Royal Indian Navy mutiny of 1946 or Subhash Chandra Bose's Indian National Army. true. Subhash Chandra Bose's Indian National Army or the Royal Indian Mutiny, naval officers mutinied against the British. All these were contributive factors. The point is, national thinking, nationalism had spread to every nook and corner of India because of two outstanding leaders of that time, Bal Gangadhar Tilak to begin with. He took the country, he took the masses he brought the masses into the movement, and when Tilak died, the funeral procession was 3 miles long, and when it was raining, they went and joined the funeral. That was how these two persons made the movement a mass movement, and then inevitably, when the movement becomes a mass movement, it spreads to the army, it spreads to the navy, and that, and no discredit to Subhash Chandra Bose, who was a great man, great leader of men. And may I tell you something interesting here? Subhash Chandra Bose contested the elections for the Congress in 1939, Tripuri Congress. Subhash Bose was opposed, Gandhi opposed him because Subhash was in contact with the fascist people and so on. Gandhi, with his great moral courage, and he loved Subhash Bose, he loved even his enemies, so there was no question of being inimical to Subhash Bose. He set up a candidate against Subhash Chandra Bose, Pattabhi Sitaramaiah. And Gandhi said, Pattabhi Sitaramaiah is my candidate. And do you know what the outcome was? Subhash Chandra Bose won the elections. And then people started saying that Subhash Chandra Bose had no respect for Gandhi. He contested the elections against Gandhi's wishes. But do you know, the people should know that Subhash Chandra Bose, in spite of the fact that he went against the wishes of Gandhiji, was the first man in India to call Gandhiji the father of the nation. And later on, when he led the Indian National Army, and when Burma came under the control of Indian National Army, Subhash Chandra Bose declared the 2nd of October as a national holiday. And he called one of the brigades as a Gandhi brigade. Are these indicative of the fact that Subhash Chandra Bose disliked Gandhi? They were great people, and they never thought in terms of personalities, but they thought in terms of ideology. And Subhash Bose was as much an admirer of Gandhiji as anybody else. So here was a man who led the movement from 1920 onwards. The Round Table Conference took place in Britain in 1932. Gandhiji attended that meeting, Round Table Conference. Every important and a large number of leaders from India attended the Round Table Conference, and they were invited to the Buckingham Palace by the king, the only exception being Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. They did not invite Gandhi. Gandhi with a loincloth. Gandhi, of course, was referred to by Winston Churchill as that half-naked fakir who wants to meet the Viceroy. And the Viceroy sent a cable to the British Prime Minister. The old man is the biggest thing in India, and an insult to him is an insult to the entire country. And it was at that point of time that the king invited Gandhi to the Buckingham Palace. So when I think about all these things, about the great reverence that people have all over the world about Gandhiji, the people have been feeling that there was something different about this man. We talk about violence, how important that is. Without violence, nothing can be achieved. But my counter question would be, has violence paid? Violence has led to another violence. The Allies crushed Germany in the First World War. The result was the Second World War took place. You cannot win over people through hatred. You can win over people only through love, only through affection. Of course, I will not say that everything was right about Gandhiji. Gandhiji was an admixture of several things. There were 15 to 20 Gandhijis within Gandhi, and one did not know which Gandhi was speaking. On one day he will say that I want a country without policemen. There shouldn't be any police. Now, with all respect for Mahatma Gandhi, that is something which is not possible now. Maybe in some distant future we could have a state without police. Or Gandhi would say that there shouldn't be, he made once, with all respect for Gandhiji, when Japanese were entering in India under the leadership of Subhash Chandra Bose, Indian National Army, Gandhi's suggestion was, let people get killed. How many people the Japanese will kill? 100, 200, million, 2 millions? But is that practical? Can you do function like that? And I will talk more about it when I take up Jawaharlal Nehru tomorrow, because I personally feel that though Jawaharlal Nehru was a disciple of Gandhi, he accepted Gandhism within the framework of modernity. You can't escape today's world. You can't escape technological advancement, scientific advancement, strong army to defend the country. So in spite of all the respect that Jawaharlal Nehru had about Gandhiji, without saying anything derogatory to Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru saw to it that Gandhian ideas were fitted within the framework of modernity. But that doesn't mean that Gandhiji was not relevant to India or the future generations. Ultimately, Gandhian principles have to be accepted. Hatred should go. We talk about wars and we get excited when we read about wars. But do you know that every second during the period of war, somebody's husband, somebody's son, somebody's father dies? War is a bad thing. War should be avoided. And that was the effort that Gandhi made. I will end my speech by referring only to one anecdote. Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister of England at that time. The man who, when a member of the Labour Party asked Winston Churchill, and Labour Party was sympathetic to the cause of India's freedom, when a Labour member stood up and said, Mr. Prime Minister, what about India's independence? And Churchill, the proud imperialist that he was, he said, I have not become the first minister. They call the Prime Minister the first minister. I have not become the first minister of His Majesty's government in order to preside over the liquidation of the British Empire. God willing, the sun will never set on the British Empire. So this was the type of leader Churchill was, who referred to Gandhi as half-naked fakir and so on. And I will narrate an interesting anecdote. And a very good book on Churchill has been written by his personal physician, who used to be by the side of the great man during the last part of Churchill's life. But Churchill still was the Prime Minister. General Smuts, to which I referred a few minutes earlier, went to see Churchill, and they started talking about India's movement for freedom under Gandhi. General Smuts said, Winston, shall I tell you one thing? You can't win against Gandhi. Churchill could never like that statement. An imperialist that he was, very angrily and aggressively he said, why can't I win against Gandhi? What is so remarkable about him? What is so extraordinary about him? And then Smuts said something which is of eternal wisdom. He said, Winston, you don't understand. You can't win against Gandhi because Gandhi is a man of God. You and I are not. Therefore, Gandhi will win. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving me a patient hearing.
Thank you very much, sir. I am sure all would agree that it was certainly an insightful to its peak. As we approach to the conclusion of this enlightening session, we shall extend our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speaker, dignitaries, and all present for their valuable participation and support. Ladies and gentlemen, I am privileged to have this opportunity to propose the vote of thanks. As we approach, first and foremost, our heartfelt gratitude goes to our distinguished speaker, Dr. N.G. Rajurkar. Your illuminating insights into the life and legacy of Mahatma Gandhi have deeply resonated with all of us. Your eloquent